And we are
Hey, what
live.
is? Yeah, well, I can see it right now. It just saw the little pop up now. So yeah, we'll start it like let's keep that in there just so that people know that they're getting it raw here. But anyway, what's going on, everybody? This is Jakejames Lugo from the Koalition.com. Welcome. This is like an afterthoughts, random type of podcast we're gonna throw up here on the YouTube channel for you guys. Something a little extra for y'all to listen to. It's me, the senior editor of the Koalition.com, Jakejames Lugo. I'm with editor in chief of the Koalition.com, Richard Bailey Jr. Rich, what's good? How you been overall? We haven't talked in a minute.
Oh no, we haven't talked in a minute. It's been a very, very busy season for us. Trying to cover so many games and still so much more to do before the end of the year. But I've been doing pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, overall, it's been hectic, for a couple of things. So the first thing I think we should address, where I've been, because I've been absent for a good minute. I want to say
Yes.
almost like a couple of weeks, about a month and change, almost like that. Again, I haven't been on the co-op podcast for a number of different things, but to kind of get that out the way, and I think it's good that we just addressed it here now rather than on like a co-op podcast, where it's maybe a little bit much more different. But basically, I had some family stuff I had to deal with. One of my family members had to deal with cancer, and that's something that's not fun. That's something that you got to deal with. And I was without internet for like over a month, so that was the main reason why I couldn't be on any of the co-op podcasts. And you didn't see a lot of different videos going up for me until like later on afterwards. I had to kind of MacGyver my way into making sure that I kept posting up content where I could. I had to go to like public Wi-Fi spots and like random spots, in order to kind of make things work. But things are all good now, or at least stable, for the moment being. And we've dealt with things, that things should be getting back to normal as they should be. So yeah, any thoughts, Rich? I know that's a lot to take in.
Well, I know that this is obviously it's a very serious issue in regards to family. So I am glad that things are getting back on track with family because I think that is absolutely important. Um, I have been speaking to you about some of these travels to get internet, and that sounds hectic in and of itself.
Dude,
So I'm
yeah,
glad that you don't have to.
I literally had to walk like over 2 to 3 miles sometimes just to get to like a public Wi-Fi spot. I would go to like malls. I would go to the public library. I would go to a Starbucks when I was able to get like a Starbucks coffee, like that dollar or two coffee and stuff, in order to get online, not only to just like, be updated on like social media and such, but also, make us reviews, write up reviews,
Yeah,
render out videos. I would shoot videos here at home and then, render them out and stuff on my computer, then go someplace to go upload them. Like that was my routine for a lot of the stuff.
yeah. See that takes a lot of hard work, dedication. But yeah, that traveling 2 or 3 miles. Yeah, man, that
That's
sounds like a workout.
Oh, you have no idea. But regardless, though, to kind of put that to bed, that's just about done over with. So again, things are back to normal. So we can get a lot more of a steady, much more consistent stream of content, both on the YouTube channel, on the website, and a whole bunch of other places. But what we're here to talk about today is Destiny 2 Forsaken, because this was one of the big things that originally I was going to have up for us at one point. Because remember, I did the unboxing for the Destiny 2 Cade 6 figure for Destiny 2 Forsaken that ThinkGeek had sent us. It was actually sent to us by ThinkGeek and Activision. So big shout out to them. You can find that video on the YouTube channel and on the website right now. It's a cool figure. It's pretty big. I mean, it's not metal. It's made by like a plastic, but it has that bronze look to it. And one of the things I was going to do right after that was we were going to do a podcast discussion of Destiny 2 Forsaken, but for obvious reasons, I couldn't play it at the time. And funny enough, I came up with this genius idea, which wasn't so genius at, afterwards. I brought my games case that I have, because I have a games case that allows me to, like, whenever I travel, I could bring a console with me if I choose to. And I would take my games case to like a Starbucks or to like a public library with my PlayStation, try to sit there and try to connect onto the internet there to play Destiny 2 Forsaken. And it was really goofy and kind of comical because every time I would try to connect, because of the public Wi-Fi and the way that it's kind of like unstable in some instances, you're not able to really just get online and play the game as is, because I would constantly get booted off of like Bungie's servers and all this other crazy stuff. So it really sucks because I couldn't play Destiny 2. So that was one of the crazy things I couldn't do. But did you end up getting to play it at any point?
I I must confess, and I know that Activision will probably see this, but I unfortunately have not had a chance to play it. I know it released during a crazy time because Spider-Man had just came out.
You were doing the
Um,
review for Spider-Man, I know.
yeah, I did the review for Spider-Man and Tomb Raider, and it's crazy because Tomb Raider came out the following week, so right as soon as I had finished the review of Spider-Man, I had to jump on the Tomb Raider review like immediately. So it's pretty crazy September, but I definitely want to go back to it because I did see the reveal trailer, and that definitely has me interested. So I have to make some time to get back into that.
Well, while you were doing all that and while I was dealing with everything else, finally, when I was able to kind of get things back to normal, I was able to dive into Destiny 2 Forsaken. And to be honest with you, Destiny 2 as like a complete package, after all the DLC content, after all the extra stuff that's come out within like the year or so it's been around, like at this point, right? It's been a little bit over a year, I want to say, give or take. And the game isn't really the same as it once was, to be honest with you. Again, as someone that's been with Destiny 2 since the beginning, that was there at the preview event and the review event and saw all the different types of stuff for Destiny 2 at the reveal event that I got to go to. The game had a lot more excitement and hype related to it, or at least, amongst the people in the community for various different reasons back then, and a lot less so now, mainly because a lot of people have moved on. A lot of people haven't really decided to stick with Destiny 2 after all the Eververse stuff, all the crazy news and controversies with Bungie. I think that did a lot of damage to their persona, in the public eye, as well as also their reputation when it comes to Destiny 2 as a game, not Bungie themselves, but Destiny 2 as a game. There's a lot of issues and a lot of problems that were going on. And at the time, like you mentioned, throughout the entirety of the year, there's all these other big games that have been coming out. So it's a little hard to stick with a game, especially one that's been around for so long and you're just getting brand new content, as opposed to diving into a brand new game that gives you a totally different experience. But I was finally able to go back and play it and stuff. And, as far as content wise, getting away from the fact of all the new stuff that was going on, Destiny 2 Forsaken is a pretty solid DLC, story wise. It gives a lot more insight into some of the like Taken stuff, with the Queen and all those other like different factions. You have a lot of the Taken involved, especially towards the middle and the end of the DLC story stuff. And you get a whole new region to go explore. You get I believe it's called the Taken Shores or the Fallen Shores, something like that, where it's in that same area that you would expect where the Queen's, I guess you could say like the Queen's reign or Queen's jurisdiction is at, one of those, I think it was the Reef, I believe it was called a while back. And again, you get to explore this whole new area. It's completely different, completely unique, and has a bunch of new enemies too. It's like I forgot the exact term that they use in the game, but they're kind of like an offshoot or like a blending of both the Fallen and also some of the Taken with their abilities. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, that definitely sounds interesting.
But if I had to really kind of boil it down to like my overall thoughts of Destiny 2 Forsaken, mine is forgetting about the Crucible, forgetting about the raid stuff, because that's a whole nother beast. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't get to do the raid because by the time I was ready to do the raid after doing all the campaign stuff and playing a bunch of the Crucible and trying to see if I could get a party together, everybody else had already moved on from the game, which kind of sucks because that's one of the things about these types of games, especially Destiny, is that in the long term, these games won't really kind of outlast. They won't last as long as they probably should because they're so dependent on the community sticking with it. And when you're alone, you're not able to do the raid. There's no way and no feasible way you could do the raid alone. It's just impossible. You have to get a full team in order to do activities like that. So technically, you get a whole section of the game locked out to you, with the exception of the Crucible, the strikes. You could still do all that stuff, the adventures, which is, again, more so in this DLC compared to other ones. I felt that the adventures were a little bit much more important to the story. And they're also important to making you actually progress through some of the story missions, because you can't unlock some of the later ones until you finish all the adventures, which kind of sucks. It wasn't really like that in some of the previous DLCs or any of the other content for Destiny 2, especially when the game first came out. But I at least understood where they were going with it. And I also appreciated the ability to kind of get even stronger armor, to get a higher light level, and to also, deal with enemies that you never really saw before, even though they're kind of familiar in some respect. But they're, they have different types of abilities. They have different types of tactics and combat. You have to fight them a little bit differently. So I appreciated that.
Oh yeah. That definitely sounds interesting. There actually was there were two quick questions I did want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first question, so is this it for DLC for Destiny 2, or are they planning to have some DLC next year?
From my understanding, they're supposed to get more, because I know I saw a couple conflicting reports, because I saw the news story that came out that Activision wasn't really too pleased with how Destiny 2 Forsaken did, and some of these other things. I had to deal with financial stuff. But also, I saw a whole bunch of other community members talking about stuff. Again, there's a lot of disarray around the conversation about Destiny 2, even though you have some people that still love it and still are down with it. But then you have all this other people, like, again, it's a very mixed bag. From my understanding, they're going to get more DLCs. I think they're probably going to get one or two more, from my understanding. Remember, I think there was like a calendar or some sort of chart or whatever, or slide that showed, I think it was like 2 other or 3 other additional DLCs that were like marked off in a time frame. It came after all that Eververse like nonsense that happened in the news, if you remember what was going down.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say. I think that there's going to be more. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. And my other question was going to be, now I do know that while I haven't had a chance to yet play it, I do know when they first announced this Forsaken DLC, it appears as though the reaction was very positive. People were looking forward to it. So I was curious. I'm just curious. After playing it, do you think that it lived up to the level of excitement that people had for it, or do you think it fell off a bit?
I think it fell off a bit, to be honest with you. And the thing is, it's very hard to say that because, again, having not been able to play the raid, having not been able to dive into some of the other activities that are a little bit much more, fire team centric and like really require you to have other people with you. That whole section of the game is kind of locked out to me, going at it alone. But for what I played and, dealt with all the stuff with the story, as well as also the Crucible and all the other like adventures and other things that I kind of explored in, I appreciate, the new area. I think that's great. I think that with every new DLC that we get for this game, we should get a new area for us to explore because it's brand new content that we didn't already spend like 60, 70, 80 plus hours beforehand dealing with and exploring beforehand. It gives us new activities to do that feel fresh. And that's what you need for a game like this, especially one that's in it for the long haul, that wants people to play it for years. I can understand that. That being said, however, I don't think the story stuff was as triumphant and as, grand as what they were trying to make it out to be. Remember, the whole big thing about this DLC, I don't think this is even really a spoiler, was that Cade 6 is supposed to die. That's like the first thing that they revealed in the trailer. That was like their whole marketing ploy with Destiny 2 Forsaken. And when you go through that narrative, you go through that whole plot and you see everything reach its conclusion, I felt it was okay. I don't think it was as good as The Taken King. I'll be honest with you. If I really had to choose the best DLC for any Destiny game at this point, I would say The Taken King is still king, in my personal opinion, though. Again, it's very hard to compare Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 like that, but still, I felt like, with story stuff, there was a little bit more of a satisfying conclusion compared to what we've had with other DLCs. So, again, that's my own personal opinion on the matter.
Oh, no, I totally understand that. I did see, like I said, when I saw the trailer and I saw that they actually did kill off Cade, that was what made me interested because I was just curious what direction they were going to take with that. So
it's funny that you say that because if I was them, I would have never actually did that. And I know why they did it. I honestly, well, not like kill Cade, but I mean like reveal that in the marketing, in the promos and the trailers.
Yeah.
The reason being is because I felt like that would have been a cool thing to get everybody talking about it when they actually saw it. I think that should have been something they should have hid, or at least, tried their best to hide before it got out. But I think that they did that because they needed something that was a little bit more shock value to get people invested into this DLC and also to get them talking about Destiny 2 again in a better light. Because again, remember, all that other stuff was going down at the time with Destiny 2 in the gaming news, and various different outlets that were reporting on it and stuff. And again, I feel like it was an okay DLC narrative wise. I don't think it was as good as some of the previous ones.
Okay. Yeah, well, like I said, I definitely am still going to try it out now. Unfortunately, as you said, no one's playing the raid now, so that might be a problem. But I definitely will check out the campaign.
One thing I will say, though, that I didn't really dive into too much, and it was mostly because I didn't really feel a need to do so. There's other activities that are multiplayer based where, again, I forgot the exact name that they use for it in the game, but it's kind of a little bit kind of like a horde mode or like an additional multiplayer mode where, again, you're doing like certain activities or something on some of the maps, in comparison to another team. It's like objective-based game types, but I never really dived into them. I never really kind of, I saw it there and the game tells you about it, but it never really kind of pushed me to do so. And I appreciated that, but I also felt like I missed out on something else. Again, without having other people with me, in mass to do so, you could still walk around the tower and still see people playing and kind of interacting with all these different characters and stuff. But you could still sense that this game is a lot different than what it was before.
Hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I know. I totally understand what you mean. So
The other thing too, I think that, with the higher light level, because you could go up to light level 500 or even higher, I believe, at one point, because the level cap went all the way up to 50 this time around. So you could do a bunch of activities, and you're required at some point to do some of the end game content and other activities. You have to be level 50 because that's how you get equipped enough, armor and enough, weapons pieces in order to get to that higher light level, which you definitely need in order to fight some of these enemies. What I found annoying though was that some of the lost sectors that again were a big thing for some of the other parts of Destiny 2. In this DLC, the lost sectors, you can't really do them until you complete the campaign. And I tried to do so like along the way, because previously in Destiny 2, before I completed the campaign, I was doing lost sectors and looking for all this extra bonus stuff, while I was completing the campaign, while I was doing all this stuff. And the reason why I did that is because I could go find those different types of armor pieces and other things in order to boost myself up to complete the campaign. And I felt like that was kind of cool because I didn't necessarily have to just do this one path. I could go off on a tangent a little bit and get some bonuses and help me out later on when I wanted to go do like some of the story missions. This one, whenever I tried to go into the lost sectors, you needed to be a much higher light level, and the enemies would just completely just body you if you tried to go into them. And that one, that's like the one thing I felt like was another little nitpick. That was like, okay, maybe I'm not too fond of this because I want to explore this stuff, but it's like, okay, I guess I got to come back when I'm already max level in order to look at this stuff. And I felt like it should have been the reverse of that. Like they should still be a challenge, but they should allow you to at least, take them on in order to kind of get bonus pieces or other armor pieces that you could use to take with you elsewhere like that, if that makes any sense. Because I know that, I don't know how you played Destiny 2 at the time beforehand, before this DLC came out, but that's what I did when I first started playing the game.
oh yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, I know the grind was always one of the main things about
Yeah, the
these
grind is
games.
still there. The grind is still there. That's another thing I shouldn't mention. The grind is still there, and if anything, I was doing more public events than anything else. Like the high value targets and the public events were really the things that I had to do for a little bit to grind in order to get certain armor pieces to do the next story missions, because there's a gap between some of the adventures that you need to do in order to get to the next story mission. And you need to get, I think it's like it jumps from like 400. You have to be at like, no, actually, no. You have to be like, if you're just below 300 or just hitting 400, you have to be like 420 or 430 for like one of them in order to get the next like 2 or 3 missions. So that was a little bit annoying. And I had to do public events in order to get that done. I probably could have also done strikes at one point, and maybe that would have made things a little bit easier. But again, I'm not so sure about that because there's, again, not so many people, or not as many people as playing it as before. So that was just another little nitpick I want to mention.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds but despite the some of the some of the changes to the game, but yeah, I still definitely want to check it out to see how it is.
I
'Cause
still think it's worthy to check out if you've been playing Destiny 2 or Destiny in general for a long time. Do I
yeah.
think that newcomers should dive into the game? No, not right now. To be honest, no. The main reason, and I don't say that as an insult, is because right now if you're diving into Destiny 2 right now at this point, you have a lot of ground to cover. Number one, number two, I feel like a lot of that extra stuff, if you want to do the raid, it's going to be a little bit harder to get a good team with you. I mean, they still have all those other things where you could kind of match up with other players, and you can find other people through that little matchmaking thing that they have, the little assistant stuff they have in the menus where it kind of puts you with another fire team. There's
Yeah.
still that stuff you could use. I never once really used that in my experience with Destiny 2. I never really found a need to do so beforehand. I think now more than ever, you might see more people doing that, to find other players to team up with. But I still feel like, with the gap of like light level, there's also difficulty in some of these different things, you're going to be at it for a very long time. So I don't know if necessarily now is the best time to dive into Destiny 2. Maybe when the game gets reinvigorated again, if there's like another DLC at some point and people start talking about it again, possibly more people will be into it a little bit more, and they could carry you throughout. So like some of the more boring sections to kind of get you to some of the good stuff. But that's how I feel at the current moment. And I never really felt like that about Destiny 2 up until now.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so definitely check it out at a later time. I mean, I had no intent to play it right now because there's still quite a bit of other things I have to finish playing. But I definitely
Definitely.
will check it out whenever there's new DLC that
Yeah.
gets announced.
Yeah, and I think that maybe, if anything, this will be a good thing to go back to when there's a drought in games. And I don't think there's going to be a drought anytime soon.
Oh
We got
no.
some big months coming in. We've been getting some big months, like really, like recently, like especially now because we're in November at the time we're recording this, and we had games drop today, which were pretty big after a couple other big games dropped not too long ago. The next 2 months or 3 months, I would say, like there's some insane games coming out. So it's going
Oh
to be a
yeah.
little tough for people to really kind of think to themselves, like, you know what, I want to go play Destiny 2 when you got like Spyro dropping, when you got Kingdom Hearts in 2 months, when you got Devil May Cry 5 like shortly after that. Like, again, there's an insane amount of games that are coming out right now. So unless you're a diehard Destiny fan, or unless you're a diehard FPS fan and you just want that, you know, something to satisfy that itch or that craving, you might want to wait on Destiny 2 Forsaken. But that's just my personal opinion on the matter.
No, I think you make a very good point. Yeah, way too many games, and just as an example, I know
Mind you,
Fallout.
this is after Black Ops came out, and also Battlefield 5, and also I believe we're going to get even more. We're getting other first-person shooters up in the coming like months, right? If I'm
Well,
not
that's the
mistaken.
thing. Well, that's the thing. You know, but Battlefield is out right now for those that got the deluxe edition, and then on top of that, Fallout 76 is actually
Oh
out
yeah,
tonight.
I bet,
So
I bet you, a lot of the people that would be playing Destiny are playing Fallout 76. Then I'll tell you right now because that's your experience, and I think that's, you know, there's a lot of Fallout fans. There's a lot of Fallout fans that also play Destiny too.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So definitely not may not be the best time to play Destiny, but definitely, you know, if ever there is a drought, as you say, then yeah, that's probably the best time to play it. But you know, we'll see what the future holds, because I'm pretty sure that they definitely are going to announce more DLC. My guess would be, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I said, I think we'll get more. But again, understand, everybody that's listening to this now, these impressions are late, you know, and unfortunately due to unforeseen events. So they're pretty damn late. But even then, you know, at least take what we're saying with a little bit of a grain of salt, or at least, you know, take in the food for thought. And, you know, hopefully it'll help inform you a little bit better, make some good educated decisions. If you're not already busy playing Fallout 76, you're not busy playing Black Ops 4, you're not busy playing Battlefield 5 or anything of the sort. So we just wanted to offer that little extra impressions and hot take for you, regardless, though. So anyway, Rich, any other final thoughts about Destiny 2 Forsaken DLC? Any additional stuff?
Oh no, definitely curious to hear those that have played the game. What are their thoughts or their impressions? But no, I don't have any other thoughts. I just say I definitely am intending to check it out at some point, and I look forward to talking more about it in the future.
Me too. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing, again, over the next like couple of months into next year, if we get to any more DLC stuff or any other content related to Destiny 2 or other Destiny related stuff. You never know. You know, we might get a surprise next year on E3 for all we know, about Destiny, or something from Bungie that they might be cooking up over there. They might be in the lab right now doing something, like doing things that might be end up being really, really cool. But anyway, that's our thoughts on Destiny 2 Forsaken, the DLC. On I played it on PlayStation 4. I'm pretty sure you're playing on PlayStation 4 too, right? Correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So there you go, guys. Those are our impressions of Destiny 2 Forsaken. Let us know what's up in the comment section down below. And don't forget to leave a like on this video, as well as also subscribe to the Koalition's YouTube channel for all our videos just like this one, other podcast discussions. We got the Co-op podcast. We have my TK Spotlight show. We have unboxing impressions videos. We got gameplay commentaries. There's a lot here that we're doing here, Rich, on the channel. We got a lot to offer them, right? Correct?
Oh yeah, we do, and we have a lot of other things that are in the works. So definitely would encourage you all to subscribe and stay tuned. We have a lot of great things coming.
Definitely. There's a lot to love. And again, we got the holidays coming up too. So it's an exciting time. There's some games dropping, some real good games. And I'm pretty sure at one point, you know, as the co-op podcast comes up later this weekend, we're going to talk about that stuff. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully I'll be on, depending, you know, with all the like different reviews and other stuff we got to do, because we're out doing some work. So it's crazy. But anyway, guys, thank you again for listening to this episode of the podcast, for this additional supplemental podcast, I should say. We will talk to all of you again real soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.
Peace out.